To Fox News Alert, President Trump announcing the U.S. military has carried out strikes against ISIS terrorists in the northwest Nigerian region in response to the killing and kidnapping of Christians in the region.
And this comes amid fears of an ISIS resurgence following deadly attacks overseas.
Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy joining us now from the nation's capital with the latest. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning. The Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, is saying his department is always ready and that ISIS found that out on Christmas. The commander-in-chief, President Trump's official word on this came via Truth Social in a post that says, "Tonight, at my direction as commander-in-chief, the United States launched a powerful and deadly strike against ISIS terrorist scum in northwest Nigeria, who have been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not seen for many years and even centuries. I have previously warned these terrorists that if they did not stop the slaughtering of Christians, there would be hell to pay, and tonight there was." This follows a handful of ISIS-linked or ISIS-inspired attacks that rattled the whole world this holiday season, including 2 Iowa National Guard members killed in Syria. That was Staff Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard and Staff Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres Tavar. And then a pair of incidents targeting Christians in Nigeria at a church on November 18th, and then the kidnapping of 315 St. Mary's students in Nigeria who have all now been fully accounted for. The Bondi Beach terrorists are also believed to have ISIS links. And when you look at this president, Donald Trump, for a lot of his second term, when he talks about the United States military might, he refers back to his first term when he ordered a huge campaign against ISIS that basically took ISIS out globally for years. And so this is not something the Trump administration wants to see bubble back up, which is why we are getting word about an overwhelming military campaign in Africa overnight. Back to you.
Yeah, Peter, it's notable when a major military move takes place on a holiday. Do you think that the symbolism of protecting Christians on Christmas factored into this timing?
Knowing President Trump, yes. And, he's got Raising Cane as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He is the person that President Trump credits with coming up with the idea of basically the way that they quickly and decisively took out ISIS in his first term. The president always tells this story about how he was getting a briefing from some military advisors and they said it was going to take months or years to take out ISIS. He talked to Dan Kane, who is now the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and he came up with a way to do it in weeks or months, and then that was that. And so, yes, the symbolism of doing this on Christmas should not be ignored.
Hey, Peter, is there any indication that there will be more dialogue between the White House and the Nigerian president? I mean, remember, over the past year, we've seen Nigeria's leadership sort of downplaying that there's a problem there when we've obviously seen what's unfolding in Nigeria. And now this strike sort of coming on a surprise level. Do we anticipate further engagement, any meetings set?
We don't have any word about any kind of engagement like that, like you're asking about. And based on President Trump's statement, it would seem like President Trump isn't really eager to engage until ISIS terrorists are basically out of the equation.
Peter, you and I have had a chance to cover the White House for quite some time. I'm just curious, in your experience, have you seen anything like this? Is this atypical from your perspective? And what, if anything, might we expect to happen beyond what has already transpired?
No, this would be consistent with President Trump's MO, which is to address the threats that global terrorists pose without putting American troops on the ground. There were obviously troops in harm's way while they were carrying out this attack last night on the ISIS terrorists, and there is no reason to think that anybody had any injuries on the U.S. side. But President Trump's MO is use American military might from as far away as possible. and not put any more American boots on the ground, which is what happened last night.
Yeah, and the fact that he carried out these attacks in coordination with the Nigerian government is key. And
Exactly.
as you said, one of his greatest achievements was crushing the Islamic State caliphate in his first term, and he's not going to let it bubble up again. That is for sure. Peter Ducey, live for us in Washington. Peter, thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Breaking news this morning. We are learning new details about the deadly strike operation that President Trump says he ordered on Islamic State terrorists in Nigeria. Listen to this. That, as you can see, released from the Department of Defense yesterday evening. The U.S. military reports multiple ISIS terrorists were killed in the attack, which the president first announced on social media. This comes after the president for months has warned that the United States could take military action in the African nation, claiming that ISIS had been targeting Christians in the region. The president writing in part this on social media about it. I have previously warned that these terrorists, that if they did not stop the slaughtering of Christians, there would be hell to pay. And tonight, he goes on to say, the Department of War executed numerous perfect strikes, as only the United States is capable of doing. Now, Nigeria confirmed the two countries coordinated in this effort, in this strike. Their foreign minister joined CNN earlier this morning.
What took place yesterday clearly underscores the fact that Nigeria is not lacking in will and a commitment to the fight against terrorism.
CNN's Nada Bashir tracking this one for us. Nada, what is the very latest that you're picking up?
Well, we're still not getting full details just yet from U.S. officials with regards to the details surrounding this strike. What we do know is the U.S. Africa Command has said that multiple Islamic State targets and militants were killed overnight in these deadly strikes. We've heard, as you mentioned, from the U.S. president himself addressing this military action in social media, saying and describing this as a powerful and deadly strike against Islamic State terrorists. And this strike took place in the northern Sokoto region of Nigeria, just bordering Niger. Now, at this stage, again, no clear details with regards to the impact. What we do know is that this was carried out in coordination with the Nigerian government. We've heard from a Nigerian presidential spokesperson and advisor saying that both the US and Nigeria are on the same page when it comes to tackling these security concerns. And of course, what we've been hearing from the White House for several weeks now and from the US president himself is the ramping up of concern around the protection of Nigeria's Christian community against extremist attacks. And it's important to note and underscore that, of course, Nigeria does have a deep-rooted history of security troubles when it comes to Islamist extremist groups. But these attacks that we have seen in the past have targeted both Nigeria's Christian and Muslim communities, to the largest religious communities in the country. So this is certainly a historic concern within the country, but we are now seeing very clearly that first-hand action by the US military in Nigeria, according to officials, in coordination with the Nigerian government.
Nada, thank you so much. Much more detail to learn here for sure.
The United States has launched cruise missiles against what it says are ISIL fighters in Nigeria. An American official says the strikes were carried out in Sokoto State in the northwest. Both American and Nigerian officials say it was a joint operation. This marks a major military escalation in the West African country, with the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth promising more to come. President Donald Trump says U.S. forces targeted what he called terrorist scum, claiming the group had been targeting Christians in the region. Both Christian and Muslim civilians have been targeted in a series of attacks by armed groups in parts of Nigeria. Let's bring in Ahmed Idris, who's in Lagos, Nigeria, for us for more on this. What more are we hearing on the ground there about these strikes? What is the Nigerian government saying, Ahmed?
Well, the Nigerian government confirmed that the strike was done in collaboration with the United States and with due consultations with the Nigerian government. However, the framing is what is becoming more of a problem now. Donald Trump said they targeted ISIL in Sokoto State, which has been killing Christians and conducting Christian genocides in Nigeria. But where the missiles landed is majorly a Muslim state, Muslim-dominated state, and of course, much of the people who've been kidnapped for ransom or killed by the armed groups operating in that area are in fact targeting local Muslims. Over 90% of the population is Muslim. So basically, nobody is certain where the American narrative came from. And one of the things they said, they targeted ISIL. ISIL is not known to have any official base in the entire northwest of Nigeria that comprises about 7 states, Sokoto inclusive, in fact. Where you find ISIL is actually in the northeast of the country, not the northwest of the country. Places like Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states. That's why we've seen Boko Haram and ISWAP active for the last 15 years, and they continue to do so. Recently, on the 24th of December, they attacked a church with a they attacked a mosque with a suicide bomber, killing about 4 or 7 people as the authorities continually shift the numbers. So basically, that is what is happening at the moment. It looks like the Nigerian government is keen to avoid the issue of religion in it, simply because it will definitely backfire on the authorities there. They're trying to balance the situation to say that this is a fight against criminal gangs and not a target on religious freedoms or something like that.
And so how are Nigerians, Ahmed, reacting to this news that the United States has launched these powerful airstrikes on their country, a sovereign country?
A lot of Nigerians are happy about this strike, but also very, very suspect, or rather very, very worried that this could be a long-drawn conflict between, or a long-drawn military operation from the United States in Nigeria. A lot of people have been complaining that the Nigerian authorities, although they say they do much, they are unable to rein in armed groups from Boko Haram, ISWAP, and the bandits that we continue to see operating almost on a daily basis in several parts of Nigeria. Currently, Nigerian military is engaged in dealing or putting out fires in almost all the 36 states in the country. In the north, the predominant crisis are Boko Haram, ISWAP attacks, banditry, and kidnappings for ransom. This is what is going on. When you go to the southeast of the country, you find separatist movements that are fighting for an independent Biafra. When you go to the south where the oil region is, you find people stealing oil, and in the process, violence is erupting. So these are the conflicts the Nigerian military is dealing with. Nigerians are happy that this is coming, targeting these criminal gangs, but they also want specifics from the Nigerian government and the United States government, who is being targeted and what are the results. Can casualties on the civilian side be avoided? And how long will this take, or how long will this continue? Actually, that's the concern of many Nigerians. But a lot of people are happy that the Americans are helping out.
Okay, Ahmed, thank you for the update. That's Aljazeera's Ahmed Idris reporting there live from Lagos in Nigeria.
The United States says that it has launched airstrikes against Islamic State militants in Nigeria. US Africa Command confirmed that the strikes were conducted in coordination with Nigerian authorities. A US official told the Reuters news agency that the strikes had killed multiple targets. Well, they took place in the northwest of the African nation. They were specifically targeted at the state of Sokoto, that is located on the border between Nigeria and Niger. President Trump announced news of the strike on social media, saying, "Tonight, at my direction as Commander-in-Chief, the United States launched a powerful and deadly strike against ISIS terrorist scum in northwest Nigeria, who have been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not seen for many years and even centuries." His Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth added the president was clear last month the killing of innocent Christians in Nigeria and elsewhere must end. The Department of War is always ready, so ISIS found out tonight on Christmas. Our Africa correspondent Yusra El-Bagir has the latest.
We do know that these strikes were carried out in coordination with the Nigerian government. The Nigerian Foreign Ministry has come out to confirm the security cooperation with international partners, including, they said, the United States of America, in addressing the persistent threat of terrorism and violent extremism. The Nigerian government is in a difficult position because they have to firstly accept this coordination and this cooperation with the US in order to get ahead of their growing terrorism problem. But they also have to actively denounce and reject the claims that come with that cooperation, that there is a Christian genocide in Nigeria, that Christian communities are persecuted or targeted by terrorism more than any other community. Now, just on Christmas Eve, we saw a bomb in a mosque, in a packed mosque in Maiduguri in the northeastern state of Borno in Nigeria. And I think that's kind of an example or a symbol of the fact that these terrorist strikes, these ISWAP, IS in West Africa province strikes, as well as Boko Haram attacks, do target Muslim communities in Nigeria. We've seen that over the last 15 years of their increased activity. So while these strikes may have been a successful move, may have been successful coordination, they also come with President Trump saying that they've targeted ISIS terrorist scum in northwest Nigeria who've been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not even seen for many years, he said, and even centuries. And these kind of statements are expected from the Trump administration. He's been repeating them for the last few months, and in November he did threaten military intervention. What is also interesting on the U.S. side is how will MAGA factions respond to more foreign military intervention from the U.S. In just the span of a week. We saw him target ISIS, carry out ISIS strikes and hit ISIS targets in Syria at the end of last week, then hitting another tanker, and now these strikes in Nigeria. And I think this kind of does undermine his America First approach. And we've seen defections by Marjorie Taylor Greene. We've seen Trump loyalists come out and actively say that they don't want America involved in any other wars. And now these strikes, I think, will cause more and more contention and differences within the MAGA faction.
We begin with breaking news overnight. President Donald Trump has ramped up U.S. airstrikes on ISIS, making good on a weeks-old promise to hit targets in Nigeria just days after similar attacks in Syria. The U.S. Department of War released this video, said to show missiles being launched from a Navy ship in an unspecified location. Trump calls the strike deadly, but doesn't specify how many people may have been killed. Journalist Jagrute Dave is following this story for us today. She joins us from Washington. Good morning, Jagrute. Donald Trump was quick to go online today and justify these strikes on Nigeria. Wondering what more do we know about it and what is Donald Trump saying?
Well, Tricia, we've got some bits and pieces coming out from different U.S. departments. You have that video, as you mentioned, from the Department of War showing a missile appearing to be launched from a Navy vehicle. It was posted by the Department of War. It was labeled unclassified, but we don't know exactly where this missile was launched from. We've also got Donald Trump, who has been in recent weeks and months really amplifying this narrative about the persecution of Christians in Nigeria. And he took to social media to explain the justification behind these strikes. And he said that ISIS terrorist scum have been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not seen for many years and even centuries. He said, I've previously warned these terrorists that if they did not stop the slaughtering of Christians, there would be hell to pay. And tonight there was. It's not clear how many people were killed in these strikes. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was also commenting on social media. He said that he's grateful for the Nigerian government's support and cooperation, suggesting that there was coordination there. The Nigerian Foreign Ministry said that there was intelligence sharing that went on, amongst other things, behind this strike. But this narrative that it's primarily Christians that are being persecuted. You know, Nigeria has been grappling with insurgency for many, many years now. But experts and Nigerian officials are saying that these attacks that are committed by insurgents are affecting both Christians and Muslims in Nigeria, not just the Christian population.
Now, we know this strike comes just days after the U.S. targeted ISIS in Syria and just hours after Turkey announced it had rounded up dozens of ISIS suspects. What can you tell us about sort of those aspects of this story?
Yeah, so this attack on ISIS in Syria was following a killing of 3 American personnel in Syria. And this is an operation known as Operation Hawkeye Strikes. And this is, according to US CENTCOM, it struck more than 70 targets at multiple locations across central Syria with fighter jets, attack helicopters, and artillery. There was assistance from the Jordanians. Donald Trump on social media said the Syrian government fully supported the strikes and that this was very serious retaliation from the United States. And there is a sense that there's a regional push to try to contain ISIS and to prevent a resurgence of the group in the area, because only yesterday, Turkey also affected the arrests of more than 100 people who were allegedly going to be attacking sites on Christmas and New Year. So this is clearly an issue across the region, but here we have the US really ramping things up with direct strikes in Nigeria.
Donald Trump says the US has launched several strikes against Islamic State forces in Nigeria. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said he had ordered deadly attacks in northwest Nigeria's Sokoto state against ISIS terrorists who he accuses of persecuting Christians. The US government published pictures of a missile being launched from a military vessel, supposedly showing one of the strikes. Trump had been threatening military action in Nigeria over what he calls the slaughtering of innocent Christians. Nigeria's government says armed groups target both Christians and Muslims in the country. Let's get more from Nigeria and we turn to our correspondent Wesu Idris, who is in Abuja. Wes, good to see you this morning. What do you make of these developments? Have the Nigerian authorities actually confirmed these strikes that Trump described?
Yes, the Nigerian government has confirmed that the strike happened in coordination with the U.S. It says that it's part of its own cooperation with the U.S. in trying to tackle the insecurity in Nigeria. AFRICOM, which is the African Command, said the attacks happens with its coordination and they have eliminated some ISIS groups there that are operating. And there is also the lesser-known Lakurawa group that has been operating in that part of Nigeria. Sokoto borders Niger Republic with Nigeria in that axis. So that is what happened.
Right. Trump had threatened such strikes against IS, Islamic State cells, over the last couple of months. He talked about the existential threat for Christians in Nigeria. Is this violence that's been shaking Nigeria for years actually linked to religious tensions?
Well, not directly linked to religious tension, but it sparked religious controversy and tension of recent, because we've seen how some Christian leaders went to the U.S., lodged a complaint and seek for the U.S. assistance, which was the initial problem when the U.S. focused more on Nigeria. The Christians are saying a lot of them are being eliminated, that there is a genocide going on. Well, on the other part, the Muslims are saying no. The number of casualties are more with the Muslims, because if you look at the Northwest, which comprises Sokoto, Zamfara, Kebbi, and partly Kano, you see that it's densely populated by Muslims. But there are also killings in Benue and Plateau, which is densely populated by Christians, and this thing is still ongoing, is still being reported, but the government kept saying that they are doing their own best to see how they tackle the situation.
So this is a case of groups that are targeting, as you're saying, groups that are targeting both Christians and Muslims. But I mean, it's early morning there in Nigeria. How have locals been reacting to this news as they wake up to hear that the U.S. has carried out strikes in Nigeria?
Reactions are ongoing since early morning, even as early as 1 a.m., 2 a.m. after the strike. If you check the social media, it's awash with this. And if you tune into most of the radio stations, and even after early morning prayers, Muslims are talking about the strike with mixed reaction. A lot of people see it let them eliminate these groups who have been terrorizing them, since the government is becoming either incapable or unable to handle the situation for long, because it is still ongoing even after releasing those who are abducted, even after the government designated any bandit that attack anywhere as a terrorist. But it's ongoing. So, but there are people who are really concerned, because knowing that an attack by US is not a joke to any country. They're looking at the implications that might come in the coming days. It is going to affect businesses. It is going to affect almost everything in the country. So it's a mixed reaction, but hoping that let it be a solution to the problems they are facing, both communities, both religious followers, and the entire country.
Okay. DW correspondent Wes Idris, thank you for bringing us up to speed.
This was the moment the United States military fired a missile from a military vessel at Islamic State militants in northwest Nigeria on Wednesday. In a post on his social media website, Truth Social, US President Donald Trump said the strike was in retaliation against militants targeting Christians. Earlier on Wednesday, in a Christmas message to his country posted on social media website X, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu promised to protect religious freedoms. Nigeria's foreign ministry issued a statement after the strike, saying it was working with the US against terrorist targets in the country. This was backed by the US military's Africa Command in a post on X, which said the strike was carried out at the request of Nigerian authorities. AFRICOM says several militants were killed in the attack, but did not give further details. Over the past few years, Nigeria has borne the brunt of deadly attacks targeting both Muslims and Christians that have killed thousands. In October, President Trump threatened military action against terror groups in the country for persecuting Christians. But Nigeria's government maintained that the attacks target both Christians and Muslims. On Wednesday, 5 people were killed after an attack at a mosque in the northern city of Maiduguri, causing fear and panic.
Honestly, there is fear due to this explosion. We are very scared. Still, we have fear. I appeal to the government to provide additional security at mosque places. We pray to God that such incidents do not reoccur.
No one has yet claimed responsibility for the attack. Robert Nagela, CGTN.
Now, the US airstrikes came a day after 5 people were killed in an attack on a mosque in Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State. Police say a suspected suicide bomber detonated an explosive inside a mosque during evening prayers. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack, which comes amid heightened security concerns in Nigeria's northeast. Victims were rushed to the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital and the State Specialist Hospital. Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum condemned the attack, calling it utterly condemnable, barbaric and inhumane. In a statement, he urged heightened vigilance in places of worship and public spaces during the festive season.
It's been a long time since something like this happened in Maiduguri. Not even in the area of custom down the center of the metropolis that an explosion of such magnitude happened. Only in Muna community and other places, and it occurred years back, not inside the city of Maiduguri.
Honestly, there is fear due to this explosion. We are very scared. Still, we have fear. I appeal to the government to provide additional security at mosque places. We pray to God that such incidents do not reoccur.
Deji Bademosi has the latest and joins us live from Lagos. Deji, tell us more about the U.S. strike on Islamic State militants in the northwest of the country. What do we know?
Well, Penina, what we know is that for quite some weeks now, we understand the U.S., in coordination with the Nigerian military, have been conducting intelligence, aerial surveillance now around the northwest of the country, especially in areas now known to be infested by this terrorist. And then just last night, people woke up to, you know, the statement put out by the U.S. President Donald Trump on Truth Social that the U.S. military has carried out an attack in Sokoto State. Sokoto State, by the way, is in the northwest of the country. Now, the area that was targeted is known as Jabo. It borders. It's a border community very close to Niger, and we understand the strike was actually launched from the Gulf of Guinea, from a Navy ship in the Gulf of Guinea, targeting Lakurawa terrorist group. That terrorist group is actually linked to ISIS and has been known to be operating in that area for a long time now. Of course, the casualty figure has not been given, but both the Nigerian government and the U.S. government has issued statements confirming the strike and saying quite a number of the terrorists were actually killed. We've also seen images on social media of some unexploded bombs now, where you know, residents actually rushed to the scene of the strike now, and they picked up some of the unexploded bombs around the area. So we wouldn't know how devastating this is. I mean, devastating a blow this is now to the terrorists until much later. But of course, the U.S. government is saying that, look, the strike was a direct hit and that quite a number of the terrorists were killed.
So, Deji, what has been the reaction from Nigerians?
Well, Penina, look, Nigerians generally, I would say the majority of Nigerians have actually welcomed this strike. The only concern is the position of the U.S. president, that rhetoric when he keeps saying that, look, they're doing this to prevent attacks on Christian communities and all of that. People are really worried about that. That kind of rhetoric is actually not helpful at all, that it could actually cause some kind of division now between Christians and Muslims. That, look, these terrorists actually target every group. It's not as if they single out a particular religious group to target. I mean, you just confirmed it. Just yesterday, there was an attack on a mosque, about 5 or 6 people, 8 persons now killed in that mosque. So this terrorist group actually attack every group. They attack every religious group, whether Christians, Muslims. And so the fear that many have, and that's the concern people have been expressing, is couching this strike now as targeting, you know, as protecting Christians, so to speak. But generally, people have welcomed it. For many Nigerians, the most important thing is to stop these terrorists, stop them, decimate them, and any action at all that could lead to that, Nigerians welcome it. But people have been expressing concern over the language being used by the U.S. government and the U.S. president, you know, bringing in religion into it. It's a real concern here.
Deji, thank you for that. Deji Bademosi, live for us there in Lagos.